Jack Fremston, with your face like a wrongly impounded car.
Bearing under the weight of my own existence. Zach Thompson, Jack Frimston. It's another episode of Trench Tips. You know the drill. How are you?
Yes, I do. I'm doing bloody okay. How are you bloody doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I have had a lot of people in my inbox saying, Jack, you're a mug from last week. And being
Yeah,
honest,
inspired.
if the mug fits, I forgot about it. So I was a bit hurt and impacted. Cyberbullying, it does exist.
Yeah. Well, I forgot about it, and I got this morning. I got up very early in the week, and first thing on my phone, you're a mug.
That was from
I was
me
like,
though. That
what?
was me. That was me texting you,
That was
wasn't it?
you.
You're a mug.
That was you with your
Um,
motivational affirmations in the morning.
I've got an idea for today's trench tips, but before we do that,
Okay, mate.
I wanna tell you a story.
All right, I'm listening.
Okay, so it's the story of two lumberjacks. Okay, and they both wake up at the same time every morning, and they both go to work at the same time, and they arrive at their tree field at 9 o'clock, and they chop trees down. Okay. But one of the lumberjacks, so they do that from 9 till 5 every single day. But one of the lumberjacks goes home for an hour every day, takes a lunch break, goes home for an hour, comes back, continues chopping trees down. The other lumberjack, who works through his lunch break, cuts the exact same amount of trees down as him every single day. And he said to him, Zach, not to get confused with lumberjack, we are two different people. I've got to ask you, lumberjack, how do you do the same as me, but you take a lunch break? And he goes, I go home and I sharpen my axe for that hour. I go home, I focus on what needs to be done, and I get it done. Which I think that's not a true story. That is a parable that I've just given to you. But I think it's a great message of sometimes we work far too hard, and especially in this sense of life and working hard and picking up the phone and doing lots and lots of dials, but sometimes we don't work smart. Okay, there are lots of low-hanging fruits in the world, especially in your industry, like whatever it is you're doing. But so many people don't focus on that. They just focus on, I need more dials, I need more emails, I need to do more. Whereas actually, if you step back for a minute and think about, let me think about what I'm going to do. Okay, you sharpen your axe for an hour, then you might be in a great position. So I wanted to use this. That was my story time. Did did you like
Very
it?
good. I really, really enjoyed it, and obviously I've seen the way you talk about wood before, so I'm not surprised with how well you
Trying to
told
get you
it.
to hold this anyway. This story, yes. So let's talk about your wood for a minute, and let's talk about
Okay.
how would you sharpen your axe? Okay, so how do you work smart and not just necessarily work hard?
It's a great question, right? And prospecting can be a very blunt instrument. It can just be, like you say, just the mass of dials, the mass of activity, verging on spamming, depending on like how you actually implement a prospecting strategy. Or it can be a very sharp instrument. Okay.
Mm,
So I'll give you an example. When I first started the business, the deficit that I had was there was no infrastructure in terms of like dialing and tech stack and stuff like that. Nothing to empower me, no cognizant yet, nothing like that was involved, right? But I did have this phone, and I did have an understanding of where people might be who were looking to solve the problem that I solve. So what I thought was, well, where would they be? They've got the problem, they've got the motivation, they're actively spending money on solving the problem. And what I started doing was looking at exhibitor
mm,
lists for events, calling them up, and typically at some of these exhibitions, it's small businesses, so it's not going to be too difficult to speak to the owner and have a decision made quite quick. And then when I'd introduce what I was doing, I'd know they were spending money on exhibition stands, and they'd say, "Oh yeah, we're trying to solve that problem right now. Yeah, we're trying to find more people we can work. We're trying to take more. What are you doing at the minute to try and fix that? Oh, we're going to events. What results have you seen?" And I know 70% of leads that are generated from events aren't followed up with
mm-hmm.
anyway. So that was one of the areas, which is a case of I didn't have the infrastructure in place yet to make 150, 300 dials. But what I did have was where would people hang out and show signs that they have these
Yeah.
problems. So, I mean, that feels like something that is obvious, but perhaps not.
It's a great analogy, and I think like if you are
It's not an analogy, mate. I really
no, you didn't. It's a story like the lumberjacks. I think like if you are an actor, and you're wanting to get into the Hollywood films, I think that's what the kids are calling it these days. Like,
okay. You've read my bio.
where do you hang out? Like, go to the restaurants, the bars, the hotels where those people are going to be, and network. So think about like where your ideal audience is, and that I'll share another one with you, which I think is brilliant for like work smart, not hard. If you're using LinkedIn, one of the things you could do is find out who people that have recently joined a company. So job titles. Typically, if somebody has just been brought in, a new CRO, a new IT director, or a new CEO, they're probably brought in to fix problems. That's what they're there. That's what a new hire is. When we hire new salespeople, it's to work on our resources or to get new business or new leads and X, Y, and Z. So think about why would somebody be hiring X job, okay? And that's like a great little low-hanging fruit pile to go after when it comes to working smart and not just necessarily working hard.
Exactly. And if you're selling, let's say, like, I'll give you something tough to sell, right? If you're selling anything to do with well-being, mental well-being to big corporates, the PR stance will be they really care about mental health, right? But you'll speak to a lot of CEOs in those businesses who say, actually, they could just leave if they weren't happy, or get a grip, or it wasn't like this in my day, snowflakes, etc., right? But actually, there's two kinds of CEO, two kinds of big business leader in that space. There's cocaine and prostitutes who probably will think like that. And there's also, I'm an ultra marathon runner CEO. Now, if you go on LinkedIn, there's a group called Ultra Marathon CEO. So you're selling well-being. You're trying to find, well, where are the CEOs who care about performance and mental health and well-being and state of mind and value this sort of stuff? Well, there's a forum full of people who are saying, look how much I care about that. So you can make your life a lot easier from the start. And I just think sometimes it needs, before you just jump in, just bang the volume and this isn't working and whatever else. What I'm not saying is it needs hours and hours of research for every single call. I'm just saying you could refine the data before you even start, so you don't have to do any of that.
1,000,000%. And one of the things we say is like the majority of people in offices these days have two screens. You can have your dialer open. You can be doing your dials. You can be doing the work whilst also thinking outside of the box. Like if you're doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results but getting the same results, what is that? What's that the definition of?
Being cool.
Incorrect. It's insanity. Something you should know very well.
Oh, okay.
What
do you mean by that, mate?
If you don't know, then I don't know. I thought you'd had the test results back by this point.
No. Out of the two of us, people don't say, oh yeah, Zach, the insane one.
Not to your face. When you're walking around sharpening your axe.
No. We're known as, you come to one of us for one thing, but you come to the other one of us for something else.
You got a snooker table in the back now. Anyway, work smart, not hard. You got any more for us?
Okay. No, but again, I'm going to put a little test out to see how far people listen to this podcast and if they've got to the end. So the test this week is, if you've watched the whole episode, I want you to put in the comments, oh my God, I can't believe Shania Twain made a guest appearance. If you put that in the comments and you've watched this, then we'll really believe that you've watched the whole thing.
One guy messaged me and said, I messaged Zach saying that you're a mug, and he said to message you to get £50. Where do I send the invoice? And I said, yeah, it's Jack at doilooklikeamug.com.
Did he laugh or did he
No,
send it
he's.
over?
I think he got a failed sender's receipt. Anyway, Shania Twain, you made a great guest appearance. Get it in the comments. Share it with your family. Sharpen your tool. Work smart, not hard. This has been Trench Tips. I've been Zach Frimston.
And I've been Blam.